This workshop is being recorded. The workshop is brought to you by the College of Graduate Studies and the Career Center. My name is Carrie McKnight. I am one of the career counselors in the SJSU Career Center. I am the Career Center's liaison to the College of Graduate Studies. So what that means is I am the main career counselor for graduate students, and I also offer specialized programming in partnership with College of Graduate Studies for graduate students. Today, we do not have a representative from Graduate Studies, unfortunately, but I'm also joined by Winnie, who is one of our peer student assistants in the Career Center. And Winnie's going to be helping me and chat today. She's posting some important information in the chat, including a check-in form. We know you've all registered in Handshake. We also like to track your attendance today. So if you could please fill out the form that Winnie's sharing in chat. And then she's also going to be helping me manage questions. I'll check in with her throughout the workshop to see if there's questions coming in. And she'll also be sharing some links to resources as we go through the workshop today. So again, our topic today is internship search. It's kind of a challenging time right now. I'm sure you're all aware of with the job market, lots of ups and downs with the job market, and lots of uncertainties and changes in the economy, which is affecting internships as well. So today we're going to be focusing on some strategies, some resources, some tips to help you with your internship searches. So let's talk a little bit about what are some strategies and ways to approach your internship search. I like to think about it now, particularly in these sort of challenging times. You want to think about approaching your internship search very much like you would approach a job search. So you need to plan ahead, you need to get organized, plan plenty of time, figure out your strategy in advance. It can take somewhere from 6 to 9 months right now to find an internship. So here's some things that work well and ways to help you get organized. You really want to approach it like a project. If you're working on projects in your graduate program, other types of projects you might be involved in at work or elsewhere, you really want to approach your internship search very much in a similar fashion, like a job search or like a project. So here's some things that really work well, and we'll talk more in detail about some of these tips. So you want to start early. Like I mentioned, it could be anywhere from 6 to 9 months to find an internship. And you want to set a timeline. So when do you want to start? What's your deadline? What's your target to secure an internship? So think ahead, plan ahead, start early. For example, if you're looking for summer internships for summer 2026, you really want to start now in the fall and set that timeline of when you would like to secure the internship. You really want to think in advance about your self-marketing. So that's getting organized with your resume, your profiles, portfolios, all the things that you want to put together for your self-marketing campaign. You want to get that organized and plan ahead for that. And just like a job search, networking is really important. So we're going to talk a lot about networking a little bit today too. That's just as important in an internship search as well, particularly in these times. And then you also want to have a targeted search. So you want to think ahead about where you might want to do your internship. Think about what comes in organizations you're interested in, have a targeted search. And you also want to mix up your methods, your search methods, just like in a job search. You don't want to rely just on 1 or 2 job board websites or internship websites. You want to think about how you could do networking, how you could attend events, what are the different things you can do throughout your search. So mix up your methods. And then track your internship search progress. You might need to apply to many internships. So you want to be able to keep track of those. When you're applying, how many you're applying to, the contacts you've been working with. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to keep track of your internship search process and progress. So again, approach it like a project, get organized, start early, think ahead about how you want to put together your marketing, your strategy for networking, where you want to do your internship. And we'll talk a little bit more about these key points. But before you actually start your search, and some of you might already have, but you might want to just kind of step back and think a little bit about what are you looking for. And this will help you plan and organize your internship search. So here's some questions on this slide to help you get started, to think about what are you looking for. So first, just obvious question is, why do you want it? What are you hoping to get out of it? Is it to gain experience? What are you hoping to learn? Or what kind of skills you're hoping to develop? So think about why do you want to do an internship? What do you want to get out of it? And that will help kind of formulate where you want to do an internship, what kind of organizations you'd like to do an internship at, what type of internship you're seeking. So think ahead about what you're hoping to get out of it. And then also, what type of work environment do you want to be in? Do you want to work for a large corporation? Do you want to do your internship at a startup or a family business, small or large organization? So think about what kind of work environment setting you want to be in, and that will help you create your target list of where you want to apply. And then think ahead about how will the internship align with your career goals and your career plan. So think ahead about, what are my career goals? What are my career aspirations? What am I hoping to do after I receive my master's degree? So how does the internship fit in with your overall career plan, your overall career goals? So do some thinking and planning about that in advance of starting your search. And then also, is the internship required for your graduate program? Or you're seeking to get academic credit. So you'd want to consult with your academic advisor or your faculty advisor to find out, is an internship required? Can I get internship academic credit for my internship? So think about that in advance before you start seeking or applying to internships. So think about what you're hoping to learn, what kind of skills you're hoping to gain, how does this fit into your overall career plan, and then what kind of environments do you want to be in, and check with your department or your faculty advisor to find out if it's a required or what kind of a credit might be available for you before you actually start doing your applications. So these, again, some things to think about in advance to help yourself get organized and plan for your search. So how to approach your search. Again, it's very similar to searching for a job, particularly in a competitive market like we are in now. So doing this planning, thinking ahead is really important. So here's some key things to think about how you want to approach your search. So as I mentioned, having a self-marketing campaign, your self-marketing plan is really important before you start applying. So that's getting your resume or CV together, depending on the type of internship you're applying for. You might need a CV in some cases or a resume. If you need to write cover letters, some organizations ask for cover letters. Some cases it's an option. So you need to be prepared having draft cover letters and know how to write a cover letter. And some of you may have never had to write a cover letter. So this might be the time to work on a draft or seek out support through those of us in the Career Center, for example, to get support on your resume or cover letter. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. You might be using LinkedIn to apply for internships and jobs at some point. It's also important to have your profile updating for networking and other purposes. So working on your profile, make sure it's targeted and focused on your internship search. And updating any other kind of social media you might be using for your search. Also maybe creating an e-portfolio or your own website in some cases, depending on your career field or industry, that might be required or desired as part of your search. So working on portfolio website, and then working on personal branding. And we'll talk a little bit more about branding. And then we also have a workshop that we do for graduate students on personal branding that will be coming up in the spring semester. So think about your personal branding and make yourself stand out. Again, we're in a competitive market. Jobs and internships are very competitive. So you really have to think about how you're going to help yourself stand out. How are you going to differentiate yourself amongst other students applying for the same types of internships? So really thinking ahead about your self-marketing, seeking out support through the Career Center and other resources to have your resume reviewed, have someone help you with your LinkedIn profile. We have a lot of resources in the Career Center to help support you in getting your self-marketing together. We have the career guides on our website, digital tools, other resources to help you with that. In addition, you can make appointments for support around resume, LinkedIn profiles, etc. So getting that together is really important and thinking about how you're going to help yourself stand out. And then, of course, online searching. I mean, using a variety of different types of sites for your internship search. So general sites like Handshake, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, for example. And then you also want to mix that up in industry-specific internship sites. So doing some research to find out for your career field or industry, what are some internship sites that you can use for your particular industry. So doing some research around that. You might also check with your faculty or your department for some suggestions of where you might search for your internship. So you want to expand to different types of job boards, internship sites for your search, not just relying on one or two. So doing that research to find out where you can do your search. And then finally, networking. As I mentioned, just like a job search, networking is important in an internship search. We have to be doing networking. You cannot, the way things are in the market, rely on just applying through one or two, websites. And in most cases, you're going to need to do more than that. So that is online networking through LinkedIn, other platforms, in-person networking through events, recruitment events. career center events, other events maybe happening on campus or off campus, recruitment events hosted by employers and others. And then doing things like joining student organizations, clubs, and professional associations off campus, external associations can help you build up your network and find out about opportunities, maybe get some referrals and leads through connections with alumni or the professionals through the university and beyond. So it's really important to think about what is your strategy for networking. Again, it's the way things are. It's always been important to do networking just for your general career development, and we'll talk a bit more about some strategies for networking, but particularly now with all these uncertainties in the economy and job market, employers are a lot sort of slower in their hiring for jobs and internships, a little more hesitant, a little more careful and cautious in hiring. We still are having, layoffs happening here in Silicon Valley and beyond. So networking is just a huge part of any kind of job or internship search at this point. Okay, getting started. So I mentioned asking yourself some questions like what am I looking for in an internship? What am I hoping to learn? What kind of skills am I hoping to gain? What kind of experience do I want to get? What sort of work environment do I want to be in? Asking yourself those questions and getting clarity around your search and your goals, your career goals and your goals for an internship is really important. Help you formulate your plan of what you're looking for. Once you kind of go through that process, another point of it and getting started is really knowing who you are. To put together a really strong self-marketing campaign, self-marketing plan, you really need to know who you are. Just like any kind of marketing, you've got to understand what it is you're marketing, what is that you have to offer to any potential employer. So here's some things to think about, understanding yourself and what you have to offer, and also help you get some clarity into what kind of internship you're seeking. So for example, understanding your personality style. That could be how you function in groups and teams, what are some of your strengths, how you process information, how you gather information, really understanding who you are in terms of your personality style and personality preferences. That can help you guide you and what are you looking for and what you have to offer. Understanding your career interests and career goals. You really ideally want your internship to be aligned with your career goals, aligned with your career aspirations. You could potentially get hired, full-time opportunities out of an internship. Many organizations and companies use, the internship program really as a way to find talent for, full-time career opportunities. So what are your career goals? What are your interests? Getting some clarity around that can really help you get into the right internship program, which again, maybe lead to getting a full-time opportunity out of that. What are your skills and strengths? Of course, putting together your resume, your cover letter, your profiles, everything. You need to understand what are your top skills and strengths. What do you have to offer to an employer? Differentiate yourself, like I said, in a competitive market. You have to understand who you are, what you have to offer. What are those particular skills and strengths that you have? And also what skills and strengths do you want to gain? What new things do you want to learn or develop out of an internship? Internship really should be a learning environment. You're going to work with an employer and you're going to help them with their projects and their initiatives, so forth. But you also should be have an opportunity to gain new skills and provide an opportunity to get some training. So what are your current skills? What are you hoping to develop? The finally values are career values that the intersection of what's most important to you as a person, what's most meaningful to you, and what are your career values. And that can give you some insights into what kind of employer you want to work for ultimately for a full-time career opportunity or also starting out as an intern. So thinking about career values and personal values is also important to you understanding yourself and what you have to offer. And then the middle says purpose. What are you hoping to contribute in your career? What's your purpose? What motivates you? What are those goals and aspirations, and how does that all align and connect with your internship, and what are you looking for to get out of an internship? If you're listening to this and you're having some questions, like I kind of know who I am, I sort of know what I have to offer, I sort of know what my skills are, but not quite sure, reach out to me. We offer career assessments in the Career Center. We have skills assessments, personality assessments, interest inventories, ways to help you learn about more who you are and help you get a little more connected to what are your career goals and aspirations, what are you hoping to do, and then again, that kind of get that alignment in terms of what type of internship you're seeking. So take some time to think a little bit about this, reach out to me or just the Career Center in general if you'd like to learn more about what are some of the career assessments that we have to offer for graduate students. We do have a skill assessment that the College of Graduate Studies has sponsored. So students can take the skills assessment for a graduate student for free through connecting with me. It's something that we offer a workshop on, and I could tell you more about that if you're interested in learning about the skills assessment. But again, this is really part of the process. A little bit more about self-marketing. So as I mentioned, you have to differentiate yourself. How are you going to stand out? So one of the things you can think about is developing your unique personal professional brand. So here's some questions to think about branding. And we have a separate workshop that we'll be offering with College of Graduate Studies about personal branding. But this is just some questions, again, help you kind of get organized and think about, what can I do for my resume, my profiles, my portfolios to help myself stand out? So what are your natural talents and strengths? What are the things that you're naturally good at? Making sure that's represented in resume, cover letter, etc. How do you stand out amongst other students that might be applying for the same types of internships? Reflect on your accomplishments. What are your academic accomplishments in your graduate program? What are your key career accomplishments so far, to this point in your career? What are those things you're most proud of in your academics or within your work life or career? Think about those and how might you share those or describe those in resumes, cover letters, profiles. How have you demonstrated your skills and competencies, giving some examples of that. And then all these things can be implemented through your online profiles like LinkedIn, Handshake, profile, resume, CVs, any sorts of, like if you have your own website, of course, interviews. When you go to an interview, you want to be prepared to talk about what are your key accomplishments, how have you demonstrated your competencies, your skills, how do you stand out amongst others? So thinking about these things in advance, getting your self-marketing organized and ahead of time is really important. Again, we have a lot of resources in the Career Center to help you with this process. Resume workshops, resume drop-ins. You can make appointments for resume review, profile reviews, mock interviews, lots of different ways we offer through our website as well with our career guides, our digital tools, which I'll tell you a bit more about those to help you with the self-marketing, this personal branding, getting this together so that you can help yourself stand out again in a very competitive, challenging market that we're in right now. And then a little bit more about skills because it's just so important to show how you demonstrate your skills and strengths and resumes and beyond. So there's kind of different types of skills. So there's knowledge-based or technical skills that you're developing out of your graduate work, or maybe other specialized training you might have gone through, or certifications, for example. Those are more what we call knowledge-based or technical skills. There's also the category of what we call transferable skills. Sometimes they are called core competencies. They used to be called soft skills, but that term has kind of moved away. And we really call them either transferable skills or core competencies. This slide represents some of the top transferable skills that employers, through surveys, have indicated they're looking for in students for internships and for jobs. So this is a representation of, these are some of the top transferable skills or core competencies employers are seeking in students. So communication skills, written and verbal communication skills, teamwork, collaborative work, being able to work in teams and groups, critical thinking, problem solving, of course, other types of technical skills. Being able to manage your own career and self-development is important to employers. Having experience in leadership. So again, this is just a sampling that you want to make sure you represent these transferable skills on your resume and in your interviews and so forth. So not only do you need to showcase your technical skills or knowledge-based skills based on your program, your graduate degree, you also need to showcase these transferable skills. So make sure you take time as a graduate student to develop some of these skills. So you collaborative work in your projects and your courses, doing presentations for your verbal skills or your writing skills or your research or your papers, taking on leadership roles, maybe through student organizations or clubs. Think about what's all available to you at San Jose State as a graduate student to develop these transferable skills and then start to describe them in your self-marketing, your profiles, your resumes, cover letters, interviews, beyond. So just, take some time to think about this. And then the skills assessment I mentioned is called Skill Scan. it helps you look at where are you with these transferable skills or core competencies, and what skills do you want to develop. So again, connect with me if you're interested in taking any of the career assessments that we offer. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about so far, a little bit about how to get started. So how to get organized, planning ahead, asking yourself questions about, what kind of internship you're looking for, what kind of work environment you want to be in, getting together your self-marketing, thinking about how you're going to do your networking, how you're going to make connections, all those things that are good to do in advance. So if I know many of you probably have already started internship search, but if you could maybe back up a little bit and kind of go through some of these things to get organized, that would be helpful. And if you haven't started your search, plan ahead, get things together before you actually start applying. So again, I think a good way to think about it is approach it like it's a project. So when do you want to get started? What's your timeline? What are some of the goals? What are you hoping to get out of the internship in terms of how it connects or aligns with your career goals or some of your career aspirations? So where are we going to find internships? So we got ourselves organized. We got our, drafts of our cover letters, our resumes, and maybe we start doing some networking. Where are we actually going to look? So as I mentioned, you want to mix up your methods, just like in a job search. You don't want to just rely on I'm just going to apply through, 2 websites and, that's it. You really have to do a variety of different types of strategies, activities, so forth, to actually get to the point where you're going to get some, interviews going forward. So where are we going to look? How are we going to do this? So networking. Of course, networking is very important, and we're going to talk a little bit about networking today. Later in the semester, we have a separate workshop on networking for graduate students. So if you want to come to that and get some more tips and strategies about networking, we'll have that available for you at a future workshop. But so most people, again, students find internships, jobs through some sort of networking referral. So that could be through your connections you already have through LinkedIn, or maybe some professional development activities you might already be doing as a graduate student. Through any kind of referrals, you might already have some connections to get referrals. Your faculty, I would suggest connecting with your faculty, visit them on office hours, talk to them. Many of them, depending on the program you are in, many of them have industry experience and connections. They might be able to give you some referrals or give you some advice about where to apply. Some departments track where students are doing internships, particularly those that there's an internship or practicum requirement. Many departments have maybe a list of internship sites that you can apply to, or a list of where students are currently or have recently done an internship or a practicum experience. So check with your department, check with your faculty, find out what resources they might offer. Again, it varies among programs. Some do more tracking, others do not. So I can't speak for all the departments, but many will have some resources for you. So check with your program coordinators, department chairs, faculty advisors to find out about, what resources they might offer. I know some program coordinators send out, internship postings to students. So it really varies, but, again, check and find out what's offered through your faculty and your department. Also, the advisors, academic advisors, program advisors might have some suggestions for you. So check there. I think that's a really good place to start. And then checking with alumni. So we'll talk a little bit about doing some networking with alumni, connecting with alumni, even just looking at profiles, of alumni, like see where they did their internship. Just give you some ideas of where you might want to apply to your internship. So start with what's happening at the university in terms of what there might be some referrals and leads within the university, and then obviously doing some external research as well. The way to go about it is going directly to company or organization websites. So instead of waiting to see, there's something popped up on LinkedIn or something popped up on, Handshake, which is great. You want to apply to those opportunities, obviously, that you're seeing. But as I mentioned earlier, having a targeted search is an important way to go about it. So think in advance about where you would like to do your internship through some research, through talking to people, looking at profiles, getting some suggestions. Create your list. Maybe it's your top 10, 15 companies, organizations where you like to do an internship, and go directly to their career pages. Find out if they have an internship program, see if they have an internship coordinator you can connect with. Also do some networking. So if you have some targeted organizations or companies, see if you could find out if there's alumni from San Jose State working there, or maybe there's some contacts that you already know working there. Try to get some insights or suggestions from them about how to apply to internships, or maybe they might give you a referral to the internship coordinator or hiring manager. So going directly to desired companies, organizations, going to their website is a good way to go about it, rather than just, again, waiting to find things that popping up on various internship or job boards. Of course, Handshake is our Career Center #1 site that we use, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Handshake in case some of you have not been using Handshake. LinkedIn has internship opportunities. Of course, it's a great place to do your networking, as well as Glassdoor. There is a site, a national database called cheginternships.com. It's a good place to maybe get some ideas. You don't always know in those large, sites like that if the opportunities are up to date, or So I suggest something like that to be just to get ideas. Go on there, use their filtering, use their search features, maybe get a way to create a list. And you'd probably want to verify if they're up to date or if they're legitimate, things like that on a site like internships.com. But it's something that's a resource, and I know sometimes students use it, again, just to kind of get some ideas, help you get started in doing some research into various companies, organizations that might offer opportunities related to your graduate program. Idealist.org is a really good site if you are looking for internships and maybe nonprofit organizations, for example. There's also a way to find out about volunteer opportunities on idealist.org, which is an alternative to an internship in case you maybe can't find an internship or just want to get more experience. Volunteering is another way to go about it, but Idealist has both volunteer opportunities and nonprofit internships, and again, kind of a little bit more focused on nonprofits. And then another place to go is job fairs and recruitment events. So those could either be virtual or in-person events. So either through the Career Center here at the university, or external employer-hosted or local job fairs happening around the Bay Area that you might be able to find internships or connect with recruiters that maybe could refer you, let you know about different leads for internships. So point here is a variety of different strategies through networking, going directly to companies, organizations, talking to people, looking at Handshake and other sites, and attending recruitment events or job fairs or internship fairs is a good way to go about your search. A little bit more about Handshake. So if you are not familiar with it, it's the Career Center's main hub for our events and our internships and job opportunities. One of the benefits of Handshake is that the employers on there who are posting internships or jobs are targeting San Jose State students. They know who we are, they're registering with us, so they're familiar with our graduate programs. They're looking for our graduate students, and of course undergraduate students as well. So it's the benefit of it is it's not like an open site where, like an Indeed or LinkedIn, where anybody can be on there. You have to be affiliated with the university to see those opportunities. All students are automatically imported in Handshake. So if you haven't been using it, it's just a matter of going on, using that link there, and finding yourself through your signing in, finding yourself. Then you can see the opportunities posted for our students. And it's particularly really good for internships because it's college-focused, university-focused website. Once you're in there, make sure you update your profile. It's almost like a LinkedIn profile where you can have your headshot and fill in information about your experience, your courses, your projects, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure you do that. Also, make sure you do the career interest survey on Handshake. That way, you'll get notifications that are relevant to your career interests or your internship or career goals. So fill the career interest survey out. It's in your profile settings. Then update your profile. And a couple of things you can do on there. Again, it's the main hub for jobs, internships, and career events. So any Career Center events or employer-hosted events, on campus, virtual, off campus. So make sure you check out all the different opportunities that are, recruitment events that are happening you can find them all on Handshake. And also another thing you could do that many students haven't used is, I was mentioning the idea of having like a targeted list of like, where do you like to do your internship? You can actually go into the employers tab in Handshake and filter through all the employers who are registered with us on different criteria, like industry, location, size, et cetera. And you'll get a list of all the employers registered with us that fit your criteria. And so that might be a good place for you to start your targeted list. of where you would like to do your internship. In some cases, they actually have contact information for the college recruiter. If the information's there, you can reach out to them and ask them about internship opportunities. Visit their website, find out what they have going on. Maybe they don't have something actively posted, but maybe they have an internship coming up in a few months. So use the employer's filter search feature on Handshake, as well as looking for internship opportunities using the filters there and finding out about any kinds of job fairs or recruitment events you might want to attend. So lots of different things you could do on Handshake. On our website, we have a little video about tips of using Handshake. Plus, we have a guide, Handshake guide on our website. So if you want additional tips, you can check those out as well. Okay, so as part of our sort of overall internship strategy, how we're going to apply, we've talked about, self-marketing. We've talked about, where to look, how to organize your search, how to get started with your search, how to figure out where you might like to do an internship, connecting with, within the university to get some support there. The networking, again, is a huge part of it. And again, same thing with your job searches, same thing that applies to internship searching, is networking is really important. And I know some students feel kind of like unsure about how to do networking, might feel kind of shy or nervous about it. But really just think about it as you are actually networking every day. And you might not really think about it, but you're networking with your classmates, you're networking with faculty, even social events and things you're attending. It's all networking opportunities. So it's really something we're all doing all the time. But you also want to have some strategy behind it. So you want to kind of be planful, have a networking strategy, but also just realize that as a student, participating in campus events, or again, things you might be doing off campus, so it's really all networking. Essentially all it is about is building and maintaining relationships with professionals within your career field or industry, or peers within your career field or industry that can help you with your overall career development now and going forward, and also help connect you to internship or job opportunities. And it's an ongoing process. It's not just something you're to do now while you're looking for an internship. It's something you want to continually do while you're a student, and then after you graduate. It could really be helpful into your overall career development, your overall career success, is to have a really strong foundational network of professionals, again, peers, colleagues within your career field or industry that can really support you in lots of different ways as you go through your graduate program and beyond. So some ideas here about where you can make connections. So I've already mentioned that your peers, your classmates, many graduate students are already working professional careers. So, connecting with each other. How can you support each other in finding internships or other opportunities? Your faculty, I've already talked about that. Visiting them in office hours, connecting with them, getting to know them. Many of them have industry experience or connections, or could give you some ideas about where to find internship. And then staff at the university. We're all part of your network. We can provide suggestions and support to you as part of your network. Attending career center events. We've finished our job fairs for the semester. We will have a whole series of job and internship fairs starting in the spring semester. But now we still have information sessions going on, other types of career events happening through the Career Center for the rest of the semester. You want to check out other kind of campus events. There's student organizations hold events, other types of networking opportunities happening on the campus. So check out, the university events calendar. Make sure you get to campus events happening, throughout the semester. And those are good ways to build up relationships and meet peers, others coming to the campus. Connecting with alumni is probably the most important thing you can do for your internship search, as well as just your overall career development. So using LinkedIn, if you go to the San Jose State page on LinkedIn, there's an alumni search feature. You can search for alumni, find alumni there. We also have the SJSU Squared, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a moment. Doing things like informational interviewing with alumni. So that's when you connect with an alum through LinkedIn or SJSU Squared and see if they might be available for an informational interview. So that's when you talk to someone about their career, interview them about their background. How did they get there? Where did they do an internship? What do they learn out of their internship? What advice would they give to you as a graduate student from the same program or similar program? So it's a way to learn about career fields and industries and learn from professionals working in a career job that you're interested in and get some career advice and tips from that. And particularly might lead to them referring you to an internship opportunity at their company or organization, or maybe where a colleague is working. And then, attending kind of alumni panels. Like last week, we just had an event for STEM graduate students. We had alumni there serving on a panel. Many of them, stayed after the event and talked to students. So attending any kind of alumni panel events happening on campus. Many of the colleges or departments hold their own alumni panel events. Check for those, attend those. Campus events I already mentioned. And then joining clubs and organizations is a good way to connect with peers, get to know other students that might give you some leads or suggestions around internships. And then joining professional associations. As a graduate student, you can join professional associations, external organizations, associations, at a reduced or sometimes waived fee. And this is a great way to connect with professionals, attend things like conferences or seminars, and then could lead to finding out about internship opportunities through associations. And if you need ideas about what kind of associations to join for your career field, you can connect with us at Career Center. We have some resources for that. Also check with your faculty or faculty advisors. They could probably suggest some professional associations for you to join. I'm going to take a moment, check with Winnie. Are there any questions or anything coming in chat?
Yeah, there was a question earlier. Someone asked, how do we develop equity and inclusion from one of the previous slides?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that could be through, just through your activities, working with other like diverse students, projects, student organizations, reading, research. There's probably some element to your graduate program where there may be some opportunity to do some research. Check with your faculty or faculty advisors about that. But often I think it's really through working with others, through different types of organizations or student clubs, diverse group of students or faculty. So I would start with maybe checking out what kind of activities you can get involved in, and then maybe finding out through your graduate program, is there some kind of opportunity for research, reading research in that area.
We also have two other questions. Someone is asking if we can provide a time of the year when job fairs are usually happening, and then another person is asking for recommendations on how to be more concise and direct when reaching out to alumni or representatives on Handshake and LinkedIn.
Okay, so the job fairs are usually the beginning of each semester. So for example, we had job fairs mostly in the month of September, and then in the spring we'll have most of our job fairs in February. I think we might have one or two in March. And how to be concise. That probably would be, we have a LinkedIn guide that has examples of messaging, but you just probably want to, think about what are your goals, what are you trying to achieve by connecting with the alum, and maybe start out with like bullet points of what are you trying to learn, what are you trying to get from the communication, and then just keep it pretty short, like introduce yourself, what graduate program, maybe have a couple questions of what you're hoping to gain from the conversation, the communication. But maybe, Winnie, if you had a chance to share, I don't think I gave you this. I think you probably could find it on the career guides page, the LinkedIn guide.
Oh
Has
yeah,
some.
I linked it earlier. I could send it
Oh,
again.
sorry, I did. Okay. So check that out. That has some in our LinkedIn guide. Thank you, Winnie. There is a section on how to do messaging, sample messaging. So I would suggest checking out our guide, or also feel free to reach out to us in the Career Center. We can help you with your messaging. Okay. I mentioned the SJSU Squared. Thank you for the questions. SJSU Squared is our site that brings together students and alumni for networking. So there's a mentoring program as part of it. That's the first part of the slide mentions. But the second part of it is what's called the community feature on SJSU Squared. And this is where students can connect with alumni for things like informational interviewing, career advice, asking about internships, where someone did an internship, how they found their internship, questions about maybe they might look at your resume or give you it's more about career advice and networking. So you can connect with alumni through that platform. I would suggest checking that out. It's similar to LinkedIn. You see profiles, you could reach out to them, maybe see if they'll schedule like a Zoom meeting with you, or perhaps meet you for coffee. And then you could, get some advice and tips from them around internships. And then maybe they might give you a lead or referral, possibly. But the main purpose of it is networking, career advice, and mentoring. So check that out if you haven't already. So then, here's a little bit more about online networking. So you want to keep your conversations, just like we're saying, concise, short, polite, courteous. You want to be active on platforms like LinkedIn. So when we talk to recruiters, they say they like to see graduate students who really are active on LinkedIn, not just having a profile, but showcasing your expertise. And so through posts or comments, joining groups within LinkedIn, within those LinkedIn groups connected to your career field, sharing in your expertise and making some comments and being engaging. So you're a graduate student, you have level of knowledge and expertise and experience. So you want to showcase that on LinkedIn. So you don't want to just have a profile sitting there. You want to be active and do your networking, make your connections, try to build up those relationships through LinkedIn or other platforms you might be on. Again, the goal of having a strong foundation of a professional network also could lead to some referrals around internships or eventually around career opportunities, job opportunities. And Winnie's already shared that LinkedIn guide in the chat. It's got a whole section on how to improve your or develop profile, how to connect with alumni, other professionals, how to connect with recruiters. So check that out. It's pretty comprehensive about how you can go about kind of building up your profile and having a presence on LinkedIn. Networking in person. So if you're going to attend of our job fairs in the spring semester or off-campus job fairs or recruitment events, some things to think about before you go is do some preparation or research. So figure out who's going to be at the recruitment event or the job fair. So if it's a job fair hosted by the Career Center, we always have all the employers, who's going to come. You can look at their information, see what kind of internships they're recruiting for. To do that research, even external job fairs happen in local communities. There's often a website with list of all the employers who are going to be there. Visit their websites, figure out what kind of internships they're recruiting for. If it's a recruitment event and you can find out who's going to be there, individual like the professionals, individual recruiters or others to network with, look at their LinkedIn profiles, figure out who you want to talk to, have a strategy for that before you attend a recruitment event or any kind of internship fair or job fair. So research in advance, and then prepare, your pitch, prepare your questions in advance. Of course, you want to have professional attire, professional dress, professional image before you attend. Practicing making eye contact, smiling, just being enthusiastic. It really can make you stand out. And practice, how you introduce yourself, how you're going to engage in conversation with others. And don't forget to follow up. A lot of students will attend an event and they'll talk to recruiters or, alumni, whoever may be at a recruitment event or a job fair, and then they don't do anything about it. The follow-up is huge. It's hugely important. So, take some notes right after the event. If a recruiter invited you to connect with them on LinkedIn, for example, do that. Collect business cards or contact information right after the event. Take some notes, get organized, and figure out what's my follow-up strategy. So, what recruiters am I going to connect with? If someone invited you to, send them an email or connect with them on LinkedIn, do those things right away. And, keep the conversation going, which can help you in terms of the process of applying to internships. So developing, those connections and maintaining those connections is part of networking and just a part of the whole process of applying and securing internships. And so do that preparation and get in advance before attending any kind of in-person events and virtual events too. If it's a virtual job fair or virtual recruitment event, pretty much the same process applies. Before attending any kind of recruitment event or internship fair or job fair, you want to make sure you practice your professional pitch, or often known as an elevator speech. So there's information in our job search guide, which Winnie will be sharing with you about how to put together a pitch. This is when you are introducing yourself to like an internship recruiter or hiring manager, maybe at a job fair or networking event or recruitment event. So what you want to do is, introduce yourself, what graduate program you're in, maybe where you are in the program, a first-year student, second-year student, a little bit about maybe your career goals or aspirations or interests. So we talked about earlier on getting clarity around what are those goals and aspirations and how is that going to connect to an internship, what kind of internship you're seeking, So those are my goals, what I'm interested in doing. I'm looking for this type of internship. Maybe you want to touch briefly on some of your professional work experience or volunteer experience, or perhaps maybe a project that you're working on. Not in super, super detail, but this is a little bit about my background. This is a key project I'm working on currently in my graduate program. And then you want to tie in like how your background fits in and your goals kind of fit into the needs of what kind of internships they're hiring for. And you want to keep this short, 30 to 60 seconds, so 30 seconds to a minute at most. And then you probably want to tailor this pitch, like the idea of having doing some research in advance, like who's going to be there. So you might, kind of organizations or companies are recruiting out of an event. So you maybe have different versions of your pitch. So you might touch on different projects, for example, but practice this in advance. And so you're ready to go. And then not only, the professional pitch, it's also important before you go to any kind of recruitment event or internship or job fair is practicing just what we call professional small talk. So that's just conversation starters, like introducing yourself, maybe just ask a question, more just casual conversation. Sometimes there might be an event where it's not like a job fair where there's tables. It's maybe more people in a room doing networking or sitting at tables together at a conference. So you want to also be comfortable with just conversation starters or small talk. It could be about the speakers or the food or, just maybe questions you have about other professionals or, other events that they've attended or so forth. So practice a small talk, conversation starters, as well as having your professional pitch or elevator speech ready to go before you attend any in-person or even virtual recruitment events or internship fairs. So how to find these events, I've kind of mentioned this already, but just as a reminder. So Handshake, we have events on campus, off campus, employer hosted, career recruitment events on our website, in Handshake and also on our website. So this screenshot just shows you that the Career Center has an event calendar that's always updated on our website. So quick way to find out about events is just go to career fairs and events on the Career Center homepage, and you'll see a list of all the upcoming events. And if you click on them, it'll take you in a Handshake to register for the event. And you can also just actively go into Handshake and go into the events tab and see about, what kinds of upcoming events are happening at the university or external events, in person or virtual events. So you might just want to kind of, as part of your internship search process, just look on the Career Center website for events or routinely check into Handshake to find about any kind of events that might be coming up. Okay, kind of a little bit of review here about how we want to go about this. So the main thing of what we're talking about today is having a plan. So create a list of your targeted organizations or companies where you're interested in doing your internship. Again, finding out about those through talking to alumni, talking to faculty, doing your own research, using the employer tab filtering feature in Handshake to create a list. And then prepare your self-marketing campaign, doing that in advance, seeking out support through the Career Center and many of our resources to do that. Design a strategic networking plan, an internship search plan. How are you going to go about that? How many internships do you want to apply to per week? I am a believer in quality over quantity. I talk to students sometimes. I've applied to 150 internships. Well, if you haven't got any interviews, something's happening there. You might need to take a break, refresh, and have a strategy. Again, quality is often better than quantity. Taking your time, figure out, I'm going to apply to 4 internships per week or 3 per week. And having a strategy for your networking. And then developing a timeline and be aware of deadlines. Internships are different, where they have these very specific timelines, deadlines. Be aware of those and plan for those. And then track your progress. So you might want to create like a spreadsheet. And I have a sample here and a slide of maybe a spreadsheet of like where you're applying, what are the deadlines, what's the contact information, what kind of follow-up am I doing? Am I doing interviews with this particular organization or company? So having a plan or getting organized, starting early, and having some strategies around your networking is really important. And just, getting organized, I think, is really important part of this process. Of course, you're a student, you're busy with that. You might be working, you might have other things going on. So having a strategy and a plan could really be helpful. Here's an example of a tracking sheet. So similar as you might use at a job search, but you probably want to do this for an internship. And again, things like the application deadline is really important to an internship. And then any kind of follow-ups and notes that you might want to take about interactions you've had with recruiters or advice you might be getting from others. You could add some notes and things in here as well. So creating something like this can be really helpful. As I mentioned, we start talking this afternoon. It could take anywhere 6 to 9 months. You might have to apply to many different internships. So keeping a track of everything can really be helpful. And the thing about trying to stay positive, I know I talked to a lot of students who have been applying, and it's just been challenging and can be stressful. So trying to stay positive, making sure you take breaks in between applying, setting up a plan of how many internships you want to apply to per week or every couple of weeks. Having a diverse approach can be helpful, like attending events and doing some networking. So you're not just sitting behind your laptop all day applying, have a diverse approach or mix up your methods, as I mentioned. And learning the facts, doing some research into the labor market and, finding out what's really going on. We have resources through the Career Center to help you with that. Learning, what are the realities of the market right now within, for your industry or career field. And just, again, making sure you're taking breaks and getting involved in different activities, things you enjoy throughout this process of searching for an internship. Okay, then somebody might be thinking, what if I don't get an internship? It might happen. It could happen. We hope not. We all hope you secure internships for spring, summer, whenever you're hoping to find one. But, things may or may not work out, and that's the reality. So I would think it's good to plan ahead and have like a little bit of a backup plan. So what's going to happen if I don't get an internship? So explore volunteering. I mentioned that site idealist.org is a good place. Get involved in student activities, professional associations, ways to connect with peers, get active in your professional community. We have a site called Forage where you can do virtual job simulations. You might want to check that out just for some skill building. Think about projects you might do over the summer if you don't secure an internship, and continue your networking and attending events and meeting employers. It's ongoing, and connecting with peers, maybe trying to find a mentor. Think about things you could do to stay active in the summer or whenever it is but you're looking to get an internship and maybe it doesn't work out. And then keep active and also connecting in terms of like attending conferences, keep up with your skills, maybe take an online course, keep up with your professional development through professional association, conferences, other activities. Have a kind of a backup plan. What am I going to do to really build experience and gain skills and knowledge? We have some other resources. We have a build experience guide, which gives suggestions of different activities and ways to build experience and skills. I mentioned Forage already. We have a site called Labor Market Insights where you can do some labor market research, kind of keep in touch of trends within your career field. And I already mentioned the SJC Career Mentoring and meetups, connecting with alumni, and maybe developing a mentor-mentee relationship. So again, kind of have some backups, some things you might do if you are not able to secure an internship. Some of the key takeaways for today are know yourself, know what you want in an internship, search online using keywords and skills, not just internship titles and degree titles. So keyword searches, skill searches can help. Build and maintain your network using a variety of approaches for your search, and attending events, as well as just general networking. So those are some of the key tips and takeaways from our conversation this afternoon. Just want to make sure you're all aware of our digital tools. So we've mentioned Handshake, Forage. We have, I mentioned SJC Squared. We have VMOC for resume review, Big Interview for interview prep and practice. LinkedIn Learning, you all have access to LinkedIn Learning for certifications and online courses. And then we also have the Labor Market Insights to get knowledgeable about your industry and what's happening in terms of the job market that affects the internship market as well. Winnie's I think she's already been sharing a lot of things, but these are some resources we want to make sure you have access to. So we have a job and internship search guide. that goes over many of the things that I've discussed today in terms of like getting organized, how to do your professional pitch, how to do networking, suggested ways to approach your search, making sure you're all using Handshake to find events, find employers, find internship opportunities, SJC Squared for mentoring and career advice and networking, and then creating your backup plans, maybe ABC plans in case you're able to secure an internship in the timeline that you're hoping to. So have some plans for professional development, skill building, building experience in other ways. And then for additional support, you can schedule an appointment with me on Smart Connect. You can also attend our Career Center drop-in. So 2 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe 1:30 to 3 at the Career Center, we have drop-ins. So those are quick, like 10, 15-minute conversation with career counselors. They can do like a quick resume review with you, or maybe just help you talk about some networking strategies or internship search strategies at a drop-in. So we have a lot of resources through our website, the career guides, the digital tools, and then we have career counseling appointments or drop-ins, plus some ongoing employer connection events like information sessions that are happening throughout the rest of the semester. There's a little bit of information about how to find us, the Career Center, if you want to come to drop-in, for example. We are in the administration building, across from engineering building, and we're going to be moving to Clark Hall, or throughout the semester, we're slowly moving over to Clark Hall. If you have any general questions about your Handshake account or some of the resources, or maybe about upcoming career employer connection events, you can always reach out to careerhelp@sjsu.edu. We have a couple minutes. I don't know, Winnie, if there's any other comments or anything that's come in chat, questions.
It doesn't look like there's any new questions.
Okay, thank you. So I hope everybody filled out the check-in form. That I will send you the recording and the slides. I do see something.
Oh yeah, someone had a question.
What are the best strategies to juggle full-time job graduate school summer? Well, I mean, I think, some of the things we're talking about could apply, like, starting early in your internship search, getting organized. I like the lots of caffeine. I think probably, it's just kind of thinking about sort of chunks of time. I always feel like what am I going to try to accomplish in this 1 week or 2 weeks? And maybe using spreadsheets or other tools, project management tools, I think could be helpful for that. Reaching out to your faculty advisors or academic advisors sometimes have good strategies for like organizing your schoolwork, your courses. But it's a lot. I get it. Yeah, I see some Philip. Thank you about. I usually provide my intention with my initial connection request. Thank you. That's kind of like said, what are the goals of your communication? That's helpful. Well, thank you all for being here. We can stay on just for a moment here, see if there's any other questions or other information people are seeking. Thank you for those of you providing some advice to other students in the chat. I've seen some of those now. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for all of those, your tips and advice you're providing to other students. Thank you, Winnie, for helping today with the chat and sharing resources.